Hey there, beautiful earth angels. Elvia Rowe here, founder of angelsteach.com, and welcome to September. I had to do this outside because it doesn't matter what the season, my happy place is outdoors. It doesn't even matter the weather. I just, being one with nature just is my jam. So I'm excited to share 3 messages with you yet again. These are actually from 3 different locations, 3 of my favorite places. So excited to show you that. And let's get right to it. So choose number 1, number 2, or number 3. So I'm guided to just share a quick reminder. I usually say this at the end of the message, but feeling inspired to share it now. Remember that, I do these messages, I channel these messages as they come through on behalf of the greater good, all of you. That said, make sure that you take whatever messages come through for you and own them. You're going to get your own impressions, your own messages through these images that I'm going to share. And if I say something different, that doesn't make what's coming through for you wrong at all. Whatever feels right and good for you here and lights you up with a yes, own it. All right. So let's get to our first image here. And this is actually in downtown Philadelphia. I was walking there with my daughter and her friend a couple weeks ago and walked by this park that I've seen before. But hadn't been there in a while. So if you're hearing a little wind, it's because we actually did get a weather warning about the wind a few moments ago. So it is a little breezy here, but I think that's actually part of the message, because wind clears things out and really brings in new energy for us. So this park in downtown Philadelphia, Collins Park, and I think there's probably a name in front of it that got cut off, and that's okay. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the image here. And the core message for those of you who chose number 1 is there is a beautiful something just on the other side. There's something that you're blocking. There's some wall that you have put up that doesn't need to be there. And really the invitation for you is to know that as you let that wall down, this beautiful something is just on the other side. It's guaranteed. It's not like it's a mystery. It's not like it's far away. It's right there. And the opportunity for you is to just look at what is that wall, what is that gate. There may be a couple of different facets to it, because when I look at the right side of the gate, it's a different pattern, a different structure than the one on the left. So that tells me that for some of you, there may be a couple of things that are related, but for the sake of healing, it can be looked at in different ways. The other thing about this I want to mention is, because it says Collins Park, I was guided to actually look up the name, the word Collins, and it was interesting. I looked on Wikipedia, and there were 4 different origins of the name depending upon the history, and the one that I was most drawn to was the Nordic. That was the one where the angels were like, if you just heard that ding, I actually put my laptop into do not disturb, but yet they're underscoring this message. It means dark and swarthy. So what that tells me is that barrier that's in front of you probably feels dark, probably feels, I'm hearing actually even impenetrable, and yet it's not. That beauty is right on the other side, and what I'm hearing is to invite you to envision those gates opening, those obstacles that falling away and those gates becoming even non-existent, not even just open, but just even becoming non-existent. So, just take a moment. It's very fluid, as I like to be. Just take a moment, even if you didn't choose number one, to just see a clear path in front of you. Using your breath. And you can pause the video and do this in whatever way feels most comfortable for you. But just using your breath to let go. Even if just in this moment, it doesn't have to be this big undertaking, this big task. Just let go in this moment. Feel held, feel safe, feel loved. And notice the path in front of you. And as you are able, without fighting it, because it is important to let the path be what it needs to be, for sure. But for those of you who chose number one, your angels are telling you that there is something that can move. So whatever insight you can gain around that, see beyond it, allow that experience. Yes, beautiful. So, just asking the angels if there's anything more. That's our little woodpecker. Did not know they made that sound until this summer. Great app, Merlin. It's a bird sound app. You can play it and it will tell you what kind of bird is making different noises. Anyway, let's move on. All right. For those of you who chose number 2, I have a special treat for you. This is a video that I took when we were in Newport, Rhode Island last weekend, and it's of a retired, 12-meter boat, the kind of sailboat that races in the America's Cup. And what you may not know about the 12-meter boats, or the America's Cup really, is that the boats themselves have evolved over time, and they are always going for what is the fastest possible in the time that they are built. And so now the boats that are raced are like rocket ships. They barely touch the water and everybody wears helmets, and it's just very different experience from the sailboat. Excuse me. The sailboat you are seeing in this video. Her name is Heritage. That's the name of the boat. And she is the kind of boat that just lights my heart up. I grew up sailing, and we used to go watch the America's Cups when they were hosted in Newport, Rhode Island. We would go and watch, and it was just lots of fun. And I just grew up around boats, and this is the style of boat that we always would drool at, frankly. And the message is that there's this elegance in simplicity. If you look at this boat, it's so beautiful, so elegant. And a big part of that is because it's very simple. And if I compare it to the boats that are being raced now in the America's Cup, it's very different. There's computers. There's a lot of technology that's involved. Again, everybody's wearing helmets and they're going really fast. That's the goal, speed. But for those of you who chose number 2, this is a call to go back to simplicity and to appreciate the elegance in simplicity. Life can be so complicated, and I'm, I don't know about you guys, but just like the whole email thing, the whole political landscape, there's just a lot that's complicated, not just email, I mean all of technology. There's a lot that's very complicated in our lives right now. And we don't have to allow ourselves to be drawn into that. We can fall back on and choose simplicity. I feel like this gust of wind is a little reminder of that. The other thing I want to point out is that in the Mayan tradition that Peter and I lean into, when we see an animal or really anything that feels like a message, when it's going left to right, that's a sign of yes, you're on your path. When something is going right to left, it's a sign of, hang on, there's some caution, slow down. It's not a bad omen in any way, but it's like a take note. Things aren't flowing quite as they should be right now. The fact that this boat is going left to right is an additional message that not only is this the right path for you, you're probably already starting to sense this. You're probably already starting to feel like, especially in this Virgo energy, it's like, I need things to be better organized. I need things to be simpler. And this is a validation that that's a really important theme for you right now. So this last message for you number 3 people, there's a backstory to it that I'm a little bit embarrassed to share, and yet it's something that happened. I own it. This is a fireboat, as you see, in Boston Harbor. We were there recently with our son and his wife, and taking you back to when I used to work many years ago in the corporate world, down at the World Trade Center, which is right on the waterfront of Boston. And a friend of mine and I would take a walk, and we'd go around the pier pretty much every day that we could at lunchtime. And there was one day where this friend of mine and I were walking, and we see this fireboat emitting all this water. They were on some kind of a practice drill. And I said to my friend, how do you think they store all the water for that? He nearly fell down laughing. He was just absolutely in hysterics because, of course, as soon as I thought about it and I saw his reaction, I'm like, well, they don't store it. Obviously, it comes from the harbor, right? So yes, been teased about it by Peter ever since. And that friend too, although sadly he is no longer with us. But anyway, message for you number 3 people is about assumptions. And this is actually, as silly as that intro is, this is actually a really serious message, because I have often thought that so much of the pain and disruption and violence and disharmony in the world goes back to wrong assumptions. People assuming one thing and believing that to be truth. So this is a loving message about being mindful of assumptions that you're making, and understanding that, just because you may believe something to be true and feel like an absolute truth to you does not make it truth for everyone. And I don't know, I just feel like this is so underscored again as we head into this what's probably going to be pretty spicy political season here in the United States. That leaving the door open and not digging in so tightly to those assumptions, and understanding that it's okay if somebody believes differently from you, and they may have very good reasons for them. They probably do have very good reasons, and just because you don't agree with them doesn't make them wrong. So, that's one level of assumptions. There's all, different flavors and types of assumptions that can be made. Assumptions about yourself that you can't do something that you actually can, which kind of heralds back to, actually the message for number one about that magic on the other side of the gate. So assumptions about your own abilities are really limitations, So this is this is a broad message, and I started with sort of the more, I guess, what feels in anyway for me in my face like this, and yet assumptions again can apply to any aspect of life. It can be assumptions about your children, what they can and they can't do, assumptions about your spouse, again, assumptions about the future. Just take this as an invitation to know what you know in your heart in this moment, and to stay stapled to that for yourself, and let go of sort of putting the chains on others and their potential, putting the chains on yourself. This is a pretty heavy message. Didn't realize it was going to go quite this heavy. But I am hearing chains, and I think that's what assumptions can do, is that they chain us to this belief that something is as it isn't necessarily. So stay close, stay coupled to, and I'm hearing married to, the truth of love and expansion and grace and all of those things that you hold true as your most sacred values. That's where we all need to be leaning into right now. Again, didn't totally expect to go quite that into the valley, but it's all good. Let's not assume that that's a wrong thing, because of course it wasn't. With that, though, I do wish and send so many blessings of love and light to your heart from my heart. Know how loved you are, and we're in this together. And if you need anything, I'm here. We're here at Angels Teach. We love you. And things definitely have been shifting in Angels Teach land, and I'm just kind of riding the wave to see where things land. But, I know it is right, and I know it is good, so it's exciting. With that, so much love. Be well.